Hello and welcome to the Amherst Conservation Commission meeting of January 22nd, 2025. The time is 7:02. We have all members present except Laura Pagliarulo. We have staff present, Aaron, Jock, and Dave Zomick. I do not have anything from a chair's report tonight, so I'm gonna hand it to Dave for director's report.
Sure, a couple of quick updates as usual for the commission. Believe it or not, it is budget time here in the town. Looking at FY26 next July 1st, and we start early and we get right into it. So just to give you a flavor of it right now, department heads put together their capital requests for next year. The important thing is for, of course, the next fiscal year, but we typically do at least five-year plans. So I'll be putting in requests as usual for trails, for a modest amount of equipment replacement, things of that sort to maintain trails and conservation areas, and then working with Aaron and Bob Parent, who's a special capital projects staff person we've brought on for a number of projects. We're going to be putting in some money in a few of the out years for Puffer's Pond repair of the dam and dike. I think I've mentioned that a couple of times to you, but just to give you a sense of that. So we're going to need some more, certainly some design money for beach improvements, trail improvements, and then of course construction money when the time comes, when we're ready to repair the dam, repair the dike, do dredging. We're going to need some construction money, pretty significant dollars, and Aaron and I will try to keep you updated on those figures when they come. Recall that we did get the dam and dike repaired grant, so we're just kicking off that work with our consultant to look at what needs to be done to the Puffer's Pond Dam and dike in the years ahead. So capital planning is underway. CPA, Jason has been part of that process. Thank you, Jason. And the CPA committee usually does their work very quickly. It's intense, as Michelle knows, because she sat on that committee for 6 or 8 weeks in the fall, and they get through their business. So they made their recommendations to the council. You may recall that Aaron did a presentation on trails and bridges, and then our communications manager gave a presentation on signs. So those are the two proposals that will move forward to the council in the coming weeks. And I think the council will probably take those up in February. And then lastly is the operating budget. What does the town manager and finance staff think can be allocated to the various departments from, conservation, planning, police, fire, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, this year there will be continue to be lots of discussion on the interplay between the school budgets and the town budget. But that gives you a flavor. So we'll be doing budget planning between now and June. So a lot of meetings and a lot of moving parts. The other thing, just to quickly update you on, is the council has been talking about the two projects, large capital projects that are not currently funded. That is the fire station and the DPW. And I mentioned these because, of course, I've noted to you before that Hickory Ridge has been talked about in the context of perhaps putting a fire station on the available frontage where the clubhouse is. So I just mention it because that continues to be a discussion point with the council. And the council has asked me to give kind of an overview presentation to them, likely in February, on what's happening at Hickory, what have we done, what's left to do, what are the available assets there. So you'll see that coming up in February, early March. And then lastly, Aaron and I met with the state and federal folks that are involved in the America the Beautiful grant. You recall this is the grant that the state got from the federal government for a number of watersheds in central and western Mass. And the Fort River watershed was one of them, with a particular focus on Hickory. And so this is mostly for in-stream restoration, given all the armoring that's gone on the golf course through the 50 odd years, 60 years that the golf course was there. channelization, et cetera, et cetera. So Aaron and I we had not heard much on that in quite a while. And so basically it's, I think the message was be patient. It's going to take time. It's a state grant. We're feeling pretty good given the administration change in Washington. I think they're feeling pretty good that the money will come. And so there wasn't much concern about that. We'll keep our fingers crossed there. And this year, 25, will mostly be a year of planning, getting contracts in place. So we won't see, I don't think we'll see much of anything in the way of permits coming our way or other process for some months. So it's probably late this year, maybe even into 26, that we'll see some of that permitting. So it's steady as she goes, and work with the feds, the U.S. Fish and Mass Fish and Game, and keep that all going. And then lastly, staying on Hickory for a minute, Aaron did get some good news from the Natural Heritage Program. They did give us permission to do some early successional management, i.e. Brush cutting, brush hogging at Hickory. This is the perfect time of year to do it. Our friends, the wood turtles are hibernating, and so it's a safe time to do that. And so we'll try to work around the weather and snow cover and all of that to get some of that done in the coming months before the turtles come out in the spring. So that's the quick kind of round the horn there, from local budgets to Hickory and our good partnerships with the federal government and the state government. So happy
Thanks,
to
Dave.
take any quick questions if you have them.
Yeah, looks like Bruce. Go ahead. You're muted, Bruce.
Just had a quick comment or question about the public engagement about the puffers repairs. How do they get notified? And
Yeah, that's a good question, Bruce. I think Aaron and I are going to have to sit down with Bob Parent. I think all of that will really be on us. It's not, correct me if I'm wrong there, and there may be a small component that we put in the consulting. If you could, Aaron, just remind me, was there a public outreach piece, or is that really on the town?
Yeah, so I think there has been quite a bit of public engagement in the lead up to where we are now. There was reports that had been put together in, like, I want to say 2019. There was a big report. There was like a huge sort of community process that went on with engaging to determine sort of what was needed, what the future of Puffer's Pond would look like. And a lot of those pieces of information we used for the Puffer's Pond visioning, which we had presented to the commission along with Fuss and O'Neill. Am I getting the consultant right? Maybe a year or so ago. And so this is like one piece of that. So there has been some community engagement in the past. We have tried to include sort of community engagement pieces as part of the visioning, with, you know, public presentation on the results of the visioning. And then there'll be notifications when permits are filed for all of the abutters that are within 300 feet. So there'll be, you know, opportunities for the public to be aware of the permits that are happening through that process.
Thank you for the reminder, Bruce. I think it is good that Aaron and I think about that, because all along the way, we're going to be seeking funding both from the town and other sources. So I think in that process, she and I live it daily, weekly, monthly, but the commission doesn't, and the public really doesn't. So we know of those plans, but who remembers what the town presented in 2019? Aaron and I might, but others don't. So I think it behooves us to probably create some sort of a website so the public can kind of follow where we're going. We did that with Hickory Ridge, and people loved the website when we first bought the property. So
just 1 minute follow-up, which is that it's a truism of planning that at 11:45, they all come out. What do you mean? I didn't know anything about this. Where were the meetings? I didn't, So the more of it you can do, the less of that you'll get.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a good reminder that people love Puffer's Pond. Absolutely. It is one of the most beloved parts of Amherst. So we owe the public, a good public process on that.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. I do recall sort of the pretty overlook areas that I think were part of the grandeur visionings. So I'd love to see what was decided on. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, a question for Dave. A couple of questions. If you were going to be brush hogging in the area where invasive species control will take place, would brush hogging interfere with invasive species control if they're all knocked down?
Are you referring to what Pure Sky is doing or going to do?
I just don't know where you'd be brush hogging.
We are likely to brush hog some invasive species, but we are not likely to brush hog in areas, for instance, where Pure Sky has to mitigate and do invasive species control. This would mostly be on the south side of the Fort River, and then some way up in the northeast corner. But yeah,
So in some, the area where you would brush hog would be exclusive to where Pure Sky is going to work, that there would be probably no overlap.
yeah, we will stay out of the areas where they're working and also where they have their focus area with mitigation.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so next up is our land management subcommittee, and I'll give it to Alex for that. I think we're trying to move on a section tonight, so
Yeah.
that'd be great.
I did receive comments from Andre on community gardens. We can talk about that if you want. And also bird banding. Bird banding is an issue with the subcommittee and not on the agenda for this meeting. So I'm not going to discuss that. I can do that offline or at the subcommittee. And also that I think the in the future, if you're going to distribute comments, I would advise to send them to Erin and she can pass them on so we avoid the violation of the open meeting law. Because said distributing comments to the entire commission is a deliberation, and we're not supposed to do that. So in the future, please direct your comments to Erin. She'll pass them on. Community gardens. We're asking for a vote on community gardens tonight. That was distributed at our last meeting. The close of comments was the 15th. We did get a late comment from Andre, which I'm happy to talk about if members want. And I'll just open it up for discussion on Andre's comment if you want.
Andre, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question. Let's see. Yeah, I forgot my question. Sorry, but just a comment on the other stuff that I submitted with my comments, meaning the stuff on bird banding. That's for you guys to use as you wish. That's all I'm going to say. I don't need to discuss it. And the other comment I had, I'll reserve till a little later.
Well, we've got the community gardens in front of us now, so I wanted to clear that up before we ask for a vote. Your comment was
sure. Well, okay, then I'll go ahead with what I had to say. There were some additions in yesterday's subcommittee meeting. So the document, have you guys changed the document since the submission to us all or not?
no. Oh, it went out at our last commission meeting to the full commission for their review and comment. We didn't get any comments by the 15th. You submitted comments late this afternoon, and your one comment was that we looked like we were trying to regulate the town.
Yeah. So,
We did
but-
talk, go ahead.
back to my question from before, I watched your meeting from yesterday, and you guys did discuss, I thought you discussed the community gardens and made some modifications there yesterday.
I don't think
If
we
if
worked
I'm
on it
wrong, please,
yesterday.
please.
I
please-
think you watched a previous meeting of the subcommittee.
I think what Andre
Yeah.
might be talking about is there was some discussion about
Fees.
y- yeah, so that was the land use application section, but there was some discussion about indigenous
Mhm.
potentially in the future doing some
That has
Introdu-
nothing to do with community gardens.
Well, it was,
All right.
We
so-
we
so
brought it
just-
up, but there's been that we didn't make any changes yesterday. So this is
Okay,
yeah, based on our meeting and the same thing that you saw. And there was
Okay,
like
so-
some language
we-
changes.
And Chair, I would just say that once an item goes to the commission for its review, that item is frozen as far as the subcommittee is concerned. We're done with it. It's time for the commission to review it, provide comments, and then we deal with comments if they come in. But while it's it's not a moving target when it's with the commission. Only change would take place as a result of receiving comments
so,
from commission members. And there weren't any when we met yesterday.
Does
I
that
specific-
clarify, Andre?
I
Just I'm seeing hands-
specifically,
yeah, no, it does clarify. I'm satisfied that there wasn't anything changed on that. For some reason, I thought that you guys were still massaging that. So I wanted to just make sure that we had the final copy of
yep.
it. Mm.
Okay, is there any further discussion on what we have in front of us for community gardens?
The only thing I was going to say is, let me raise my hand.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is reiterate what that comment that I had on that I submitted today, which is I don't think we have the authority to tell the town what they shall do or should do, and I really don't. I really think that needs to be changed.
Can I address
Sure.
that, Chair, or do you want
Yes,
to?
please, go ahead.
So the community gardens are on land that the commission holds. And there has never been an agreement with the town to have community gardens on conservation land. It just evolved. And so after giving it some thought, we had gone back and forth with the town to provide its rules. And we spent months on it, probably 5 months back and forth or longer. And then finally decided, well, let's just get the commission out of the business of dealing with the town on the community gardens and create a document which in fact delegates responsibility for community gardens to the town from the commission. That doesn't exist. So there was this awkward relationship between the commission and the town on what the rules were and how to work together. And it was just easier to divorce ourselves from the community gardens, which is why we measured their area and said that any expansion of community gardens would have to come back to the commission for its review and approval.
Mhm.
So the choice was either write something that in fact delegated to the town with conditions, or have the town come in for a license from the commission to operate community gardens on Concom land. And we didn't really want to ask the town to come in for a license. And so in thinking about the town as a landlord, with the community gardens, any landlord has to provide water. And right now, or when I made site visits to one of the community gardens, at least, there was no water. So we put a condition in there that they must provide water, and that water must be convenient to people, so that somebody with an injured arm, so somebody's not excluded from using the garden. So we asked that we put in there that the town must provide water that's convenient. Right now, there's a pump at one of the gardens that people have to go and fill up their buckets and carry it to their garden. And that we wanted a change there, so we put in that the town must, we didn't put any details about how to do it, but we did talk about it, and Dave was part of that discussion. So there is a rule in there that they must provide water convenient to the gardens.
Alex, I'm just going to interject so we can keep moving this along. But yes, you gave a really good overview of our thinking process for how we're structuring this. But to Andre's question, and also harkening back to that bigger conversation, Andre, several other subcommittee members and commissioners had the same concerns. And so we did change language. So Alex has been using the word must, but we did change the language to endeavor to. So we are backing away from any kind of directive to the town and pointing out these things that would be, ideal, but not making it a requirement. So I don't know if that helps clarify how we dealt with the similar concerns.
I like that wording a lot more.
Okay, that's what it is right now. So Alex gave the big thought process, and then we made those tweaks so that they're not directives to the town and, their endeavor to comments. So that's what it exists, and that's what's in front of us now. Bruce, go ahead.
Just a reminder that Dave reminded us that this whole document goes to the town attorney first, and then it goes for a public hearing second. So there's several takes at any little things like that about that level of structure will get looked at several times.
Thanks, Bruce. So are there any other clarifying questions? And if not, are we moving to approve this for including in our commission document? Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, just a question regarding the nutrient management portion. It says that the department will, to guard against excess nutrients, the department will arrange for monitoring of soil pH. How is that happening?
Leaving it to the town to figure it out, trying to stay at the policy level.
Well,
Is the expectation that every single garden plot will be able to utilize some form of sampling through the town?
I think we're as Bruce said, we're not putting an expectation in. So if it's vague, it has some strategy in terms of letting the town decide how that could happen. It's kind of complicated because of raised beds or not raised beds and trucked in compost. So it would probably be at the delivery scale level. But again, we're trying not to get in the weeds on implementation.
But why is that the town's responsibility? Like, if you want a community garden, fine, but it shouldn't be on the town to test the soil for you to make sure or to figure out how they're going to do it. Like, if you want a community garden, you need to take some responsibility for your community garden. If you want to test the soil, you want to know what the soil is, you get it tested. I don't think that should be on the town to figure out how that's going to happen.
Okay, comment heard, Alex.
Yeah. So I think that section begins so that we can protect our water quality. And community gardens have a lot of first-time gardeners, don't know much. And so the expectation was that soil testing would take place. It's $20 a sample. And then post the results and some recommendations. The sample from UMass comes with home garden recommendations. It's not like somebody has a huge hayfield. So it administratively is easier to post the results on the kiosk to help the gardeners figure out how to fertilize. And there's also rules which we don't have, but the town has, or the gardeners have, on what fertilizers can be used. We didn't go there. But one community garden is not particularly managed by anybody. It's just individuals. The other one is managed by a group, and that works with the town. So how to make sure that too much fertilizer is not put on and goes into the river. That was what was trying to happen, and it's just easier for the town to take the responsibility. It's not a huge burden. And Dave didn't have a problem with it, and it's not expensive.
Okay, thanks, Alex. We're nearing on our first hearing time, so if you guys have plans for moving forward, I'm all ears. I think Andre was up.
Yeah, I just wanted to second Jason's concern. I did have a chance to watch a few of the last few meetings that the committee has had, and did get to hear some of the reasoning and so on, going behind behind some of what is being proposed. One of the things that was discussed was we need to provide more water for the community garden people and make sure that it's always there. I also, when hearing this, was questioning, well, why are we tying the town's hands to using these resources? Does the town have the resources to do these things? And I didn't hear much discussion of that, but that question's still up. So.
Dave, do you want to, so that would apply to, there's a sand pump at one of the community gardens. There's a tank at another community garden. I was under the impression that that was a fine arrangement, but Dave, do you want to address Andre's concern about sustaining that availability in town resources?
Yeah, we did, and Andre referenced to, watching some of the earlier conversations. So yeah, honestly, I did express some concern about how prescriptive some of these were in the previous meetings. I think we came to a point where they were less prescriptive than they used to be. I agree. I think the town should endeavor as best we can to provide water. And I'm talking with our sustainability coordinator, who has played a role in at least one of the gardens, about cisterns and, maybe a combination of cisterns and the Sandpoint wells, which is the kind of well we have at Fort River Farm Garden. They're very simple. They're about $500 to install, but yeah, they're not deep. There's no electricity, and they take some work. They are the old-fashioned kind of well that you need a pump. So we're gonna, I'm comfortable working on the cistern at both locations and getting a decent sized cistern and filling those regularly. How long can the town commit to doing that indefinitely? I don't know, but we're going to do the best we can over the next 3 to 5 years. Again, in a drought year, you're going to see those gardeners use a lot more water than in a non-drought year. The soil testing is a little more complicated, and I can't remember the exact language there. I struggle a little bit more with that because as Michelle indicated, what are you sampling? You have raised beds, you have beds that have been with enhancements to the soil. Sometimes it's just native soil that is high in clay. So, we're going to have to work through that. That's a little bit tougher. I think there's more uniform soils at Amethyst Brook. The soils at Fort River Farm have been amended quite extensively by the 40+ gardeners who garden there. So we'll work through it. But I think these are good comments.
Yeah, and just to follow up, the soil testing has a qualifier at the end, which says the implementation is dependent on staff availability and budget and may be waived in drought. So it's been relaxed, but if someone wants to move to strike it or adjust it, I'm looking for moving through this one. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to comment that we have agriculture allowed on conservation land. And I believe that we have already approved that language, but I don't recall anything about soil testing there. And I would just think that there's on large scale agriculture, there's probably more opportunity for impact to waterways. And I don't recall if there was any kind of testing requirement for ag on conservation land outside of like these community gardens. So maybe the next time, I don't know when the next time any of this language is going to get updated, but that might be something to think about in the interest of protecting waters.
Are you suggesting that we revisit the agriculture section and include it?
I think it would be nice, but I don't know if it's necessarily something if we need to reopen it.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify what you meant. Okay, well, again, it's, got a couple more pipelines to go down.
Yep.
Alex, go ahead.
The agriculture rule does have language in it about protecting water quality. So the fertilization is, I don't think there's testing required, but what is required is that they can't pollute the water. And I remind folks that the document that's in front of you is in lieu of asking the town to come in for a license to operate a community garden on Concom land. And to have a couple of requirements, I don't think is onerous. I have no idea what we would put in a license.
Andre.
One last question from me, or suggestion, or whichever to explore. What about writing an MOU with the town and having the town manage it?
I think we were trying to reduce administrative burden and back and forth. So this was like this is what the subcommittee came to, which was this is sort of a carve-out management unit within Concom jurisdiction where the town has, or the town affiliates have management over the area and also administer the program. Okay, so I'm hearing that people still have a lot of questions about this and kind of larger ones. Can I just get a show of hands of who's ready to move on this tonight with the language in front, or who wants to have more conversation?
Which is the question?
Okay, so Bruce just raised his hands. Who's ready to move forward with this with the language as written, as in front of you? Raise your hand. Okay. There's just so many faces. Okay, I think we're split here. I mean, I am too. So that's a quorum, I guess, or a majority. So then I'm looking for a motion and a vote. And if someone who's a dissenter would like to make a motion with an edit or a qualifier, feel free to take the floor and do that.
I move that we approve the community garden rule as proposed.
I second that.
Rachel. You're on mute.
I just want to make sure everybody has a chance to voice their opinions and for it to be fleshed out. I don't want to vote something in that sounds like we still have some questions about. So-
Okay, is there any further discussion on the motion? Okay, is that a no? From Rachel?
I would say no, because it sounds like there's questions still.
Okay, Bruce,
Bye.
Jason,
Aye.
Alex,
Aye.
Andre,
Nay.
I'm an aye. Okay, the motion passes 3-2. And again, there will be opportunities to revisit this. Okay,
Can
I
I
think
just
we're gonna-
ask a clarifying
yeah.
question? You said 3-2. It would actually be 4-2, right?
4-2. Thank
Yeah,
you, Erin.
okay.
Okay, we'll come back to minutes. And we're gonna go to our first hearing, and I think I have to open this one, Erin.
Just one
Yeah,
real quick. I will want to say something about the subcommittee later on when we have a chance, okay?
okay, we'll
Thank
come
you.
back to that at the end. Yep,
I have one more item, Chair.
for the end. Or
Yeah,
for the
we're-
subcommittee.
So for the subcommittee,
Okay,
is to simply tell commissioners that we are going to be providing you another opportunity to look at the appendix we've been preparing. From time to time, I've provided it. And it will come in our folder pretty soon. I was hoping to get it in before this meeting, but look for it. And anything that's new is in blue type. Thank you.
thanks, Alex.
I know.
Okay.
And we'll be looking for comments. We'll put a date in the document. It'll be a week out or so.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Where did you say the appendix is available?
It isn't yet, but it will be in the subcommittee folder.
Thanks.
And
Or
please
Erin
communicate
can-
with,
and
yeah.
Erin can send it out to you, whichever. Thank you. I'm done.
okay, great. If you need a day or so extra, keeping in mind that we're gonna discuss this at the next Concom meeting, just communicate with Alex about that, I guess, or Erin. Okay, Erin, can you pull in anybody that we'll need for this hearing?
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry, I'm sorry, as the note taker. So it says presentation by Martin Fian is on the agenda that I have. What is this?
that is scheduled for our next meeting. That's just a note.
I missed the 2/26. It says 7/10. That's a
Sorry,
Sunday.
So that's for next
I'm
month.
sorry, my fault.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Let it
Yeah.
go.
Confusing. Okay,
Mm.
onward. All right, this public hearing is now called to order. The hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, and Act relative to the protection of the wetlands as most recently amended in Article 3.31, Wetlands Protection under the Town of Amherst General Bylaws. This is a notice of intent for Wendell Wetland Services on behalf of Pham Tao for the construction of a single-family home, driveway, and septic system within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland at Old Montague Road, map 2A, lot 36. Hi, Ward, welcome.
Hi, how we doing?
Good. So I'm gonna let Erin give a 5-minute presentation, then we'll give you 5, and then we'll have questions after that and public comment. All right, Erin, can we have some staff comments, please?
Yeah, so my comments are going to be really brief. Basically, as staff, I'm not really able to give any recommendation on this at this time, mostly because it's snow cover, we've got freezing conditions. Also, the edge of work is very close to the 50-foot no touch zone. And I feel like it will be important to be able to verify the wetland boundary before the work is approved to move forward. So, I mean, I guess my recommendation as staff would be that sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand. My recommendation as staff would be that we allow, board to present the project, potentially review, or ask questions if there's any revisions the commission wants to see, but bearing in mind that, I would hope that we would have a continuation to such time that, I would feel more comfortable being able to just do a quick due diligence of the site, with thawed conditions and verify the wetland boundary and, um, sort of be able to see what's going on a little bit better, before the commission approves the project.
Thanks, Erin. Ward, go ahead and maybe include your thoughts on that kind of timing for this project.
Well, we had a site visit yesterday. It's a site that I'm sure everybody's driven by hundreds, if not thousands of times. It's Old Montague Road, which was the original Montague Road before they straightened it out with 63. Transmission line passes overhead right there. And what they did when they built the new 63 Montague Road was they cut this wetland off from the main bordering vegetated wetland to the east. So this wetland is semi-isolated, but they put a catch basin and culvert at the bottom of this wetland to connect it to the wetland to the east of 63. So the wetland is ringed by roads. It has houses on some the south and the north sides. And this project is proposed in the outer 50-foot of the 100-foot buffer zone. The setback from Old Montague Road is a good distance off of the road itself. So they're proposing to put the house, the only place they can in this portion of the lot, it is going to be very close to the 50-foot no touch zone. Which, as we've observed in the field, was marked with stakes. The surveyors went out there and they staked the corners of the house. They staked the septic location and they staked the silt fence barrier. So the proposed work is going to be over the 20% threshold for work in the outer 50-foot of the 100-foot buffer zone. So we're proposing to plant the inner 50-foot with trees and fruit-bearing shrubs to provide some wildlife habitat, primarily for birds, because I think that's the main thing we'd be focusing on here, although I'm sure there's other stuff that goes in there. So the proposed plantings would be 22 trees in total, which are red maple and red oak, and the 50 shrubs total, which would be shadbush, black chokeberry, American hazelnut, and gray dogwood. I also noticed on the site visit there are some bittersweet vines going up in the trees near the wetland edge. So if the commission wants to add a condition that the bittersweet would be removed, we're fine with that. The septic system is under the transmission line partially, so they're going to have to get permission from I could say New England Power. It's National Grid now to do that, and they don't currently have that permit, but hopefully that will be forthcoming. There are no transmission towers, structures that need to be accessed under this portion of the transmission line right away, but National Grid does have to do vegetation maintenance. So we're proposing the mitigation to the south of the transmission line because we can't do anything in the transmission line because that's going to be mowed or whatever they do every so many years. And to the north, it's all wooded, so it's all pretty much a mature forest. There's no, as I pointed out to the commission, the wetland has no flood storage because the catch basin's at the very bottom of it. The soils are very sandy on the site. There's no water storage capacity in the wetland there. I did the delineation initially in October of 2022. And then I redelineated it this October 23rd, 2023, and all of my previous flags were still in place. I understand if Erin wants to look at the wetland boundary. I thought the wetland boundary was very straightforward, but that's not unreasonable.
Thanks, Ward. Commissioner, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, if there's any public comment, please raise your hand now. Alex, did you have any questions or comments for Ward? No, okay.
No.
So then I guess we need to decide, this will be continued tonight on what that day is. What gives us sufficient time to satisfy the staff request. I don't know how to predict that, but Erin, did you have a general sense of when you'd like to propose the next site visit date?
I mean, I would be fine with continuation to February 12th. I mean, I think with the way that the weather has been sort of undulating between being really cold and warming up, we could get a thaw and I might have an opportunity to get out there. But if on February 12th we're still in a deep freeze with snow cover and can't really see what's going on, then you know, it might require another continuation from there, but just in interest of the applicant keeping things moving, I think the 12th would be fine.
Does that work for you, Ward?
Sure.
Okay. All right, then we're looking for a motion to continue to February 12th. Do we have a time, Erin?
Yes.
Oh, I see Bruce's hand up. Hold on.
No.
Oh, okay.
So 7:45 on February 12th.
So moved.
Second,
Bruce on the motion, Rachel on the second. Rachel,
aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Alex,
Aye.
Andre.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, thank you, Ward. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
in February. Good night.
Yep.
Okay, 7:35, check. All right, so next up we have amended notice of intent, DEP number 0890728, Pure Sky Energy for changes to the approved construction of sequencing in the existing order of conditions for the solar facility, which is currently under construction, as well as additional proposed grading and buffer zone and land subject to flooding at 191 West Primary Lane, map 19D, lot 10. This hearing was opened on November 13th, 2025. And Erin, are you bringing folks in for this one?
Yeah, I only see Lawrence. I do know that Tom Reedy had intended to be here, but there's a planning board meeting this evening, which he also had to attend. So I
Okay,
suspect he may be popping in
sure.
as
I'll keep an eye on it.
yeah.
Andre?
Go ahead.
Just
Yeah.
a quick correction, 2024.
Oh,
November
yeah,
2024.
thank you. I was just reading.
Yeah, no, not a problem.
Thanks. All right, well, it looks like Lawrence is usually on the phone. Lawrence, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, welcome, Lawrence.
We've also got Sean Foster, who's the engineer of record, on the line in case there's any engineering questions that may arise. So if he can be brought in as well.
Okay, thanks. Erin, I don't have permission, so I'll let you do it.
Yes, I'll pull him in. Did you want me to give a quick update first, Michelle?
Yes, please. And then we'll go to Pure Sky.
Okay, so we did receive the approval from Natural Heritage for the amendment to the conservation management plan. So that is in your OneDrive folders. I also uploaded that. I've been uploading our public packets as well, so that's uploaded to our public packet. I have a drafted sort of finding of fact and order of conditions, which takes.
Hold on.
What's up?
Go ahead.
Which in the amended or in the finding of fact in the amended order of conditions, I've basically just taken Lawrence's request and tried to adjust the conditions and the phasing to accommodate what their asks are. And then there's a series of additional special conditions that I've suggested. And again, that's basically there. So if the commission is at a point where they're, you know, ready to move on this, that it's teed up for approval if you wish to do so. So that's basically where things are from my end.
Thanks, Erin. Lawrence, do you want to give us your 5-minute update, please?
Yes, so construction has been ongoing. Obviously, east and west, we got most of the tables in now, except for the areas impacted by the grading, and been working with Erin on making sure that the stabilization has been done, as well as getting the wing walls into one of the crossings there as well. So yeah, just ready to hopefully draw this part of it to a close and answer any final questions anyone might have.
Thanks, Lawrence. Commissioner, questions or comments? None. Okay. So I'll assume everybody read the finding of fact and order of conditions. Erin, is that something that we can have up on our screen? And my only question was about some of these pending things. So Lawrence mentioned some of it was going in, but there's some as soon as possible requests in there, and I just wanted to confirm that you're comfortable with not having any date certain, but having it as a priority.
Yeah, so the as soon as possible would be the things like the timber down by the crossings, which is obviously difficult to do with the ground so frozen. So we will monitor and deal with that when we as soon as we are able to.
Thanks, Lawrence. Bruce, go ahead.
I wondered whether there were any other things on this list that were especially problematic given the freezing.
Lawrence, do you want to address that one?
We will have to assess the conditions with the on the grading side of things. We do have obviously frost. What that will mean is we can the areas where we're going to do some cuts are relatively straightforward, but the fill might need to wait until we get some thawing on the removed spoils, as that will be tough to spread around while it's still clumpy. So cut's not a problem. Fill might need a bit of a warming up, but we've got some above freezing weather on the way. I think not for very long, but certainly a weekend.
Thanks. If there's any public comment, please raise your hand. Alex, did you have something?
Yeah. I have a question on number 8, specifically the construction of the equipment pads. So when the material was first delivered, Erin pointed out that they had batteries shown on the pad. She asked that the batteries be removed. They were, but the pad was not reduced in size to be the size that's needed just for the electronics to run the solar project absent batteries. And I am going to have a hard time voting in favor of this so long as that equipment pad anticipates batteries. And the reason for that is that I believe that the piping or wiring for batteries is specific to batteries. So the arrangement of the wiring embedded in the concrete would be specific to a battery, and no battery has been approved by the fire department to date. So that means that Pure Sky would be anticipating putting in a particular battery. And I think that puts the town in an awkward position because it hasn't approved any battery. So I've brought this up at every chance I get with Pure Sky on the phone. And I'm going to ask that, for my vote at least, for Lawrence to cut the pad back not anticipating batteries. And that would be in keeping with the letter that he wrote when we first approved this order, that this project does not anticipate batteries. And by having a pad which anticipates batteries is contrary to the letter where he wrote originally, removing batteries from consideration.
Lawrence, do you want to address that?
Yeah, so the letter that I wrote was not removing batteries from consideration entirely. It was just for, at that purpose of the NOI. The intent was always to come back with the batteries at a later date once we had the fire department approval. It's a smart requirement that batteries are on large-scale solar, so that we'll be coming back with a battery, whether it's powering after an approval from the fire department or another, if that isn't the case. But the pad itself was with the secondary containment. If we have half a pad built, then we won't have the containment for things for the transformers, and a few bits of conduit without any additional wire or anything like that poking up into an area of the pad. It presents zero risk to the wetland resource, but having a pad with transformers installed without the secondary containment going around the pad obviously does present a risk.
Thanks, Lawrence. I mean, Alex, the type of batteries, well, I see your point here, is I think outside of our jurisdiction. So if they build a too specific battery and then they can't use that battery, I think that's out of our hands at that point. So I'm not sure what the commission can say about that.
Madam Chair, we spent a lot about it, and we spent a lot of time on it. And I spent a lot of time on it. And I'm responsible for them writing that letter removing batteries from the project. And I understand what the letter says is that at the time when their batteries are approved, then they will come back in with a new application. And I understand that, Lawrence. But to build a pad that anticipates a battery is outside of the agreement that we originally had. And when you remove batteries from the application that we approved, it was anticipation that someday you would come back, but that would be under a new application to the commission. And so to build a pad big enough to hold batteries beyond what's necessary to run the solar project is contrary to that letter that's attached to your permit.
No, I would disagree with that because the intention that the pad, as approved with the NOI, was the pad that included it was sufficient for where the battery was. What we would be coming back for would be to present the battery after the fire department approval. It was never we weren't going to be coming back with the battery side of things.
So am I wrong that if you put in the pad where the batteries would sit, that the wiring that you would embed in the concrete is specific to a particular battery, and that another battery might not fit that wiring configuration?
If a different battery didn't fit that wiring configuration, I mean, the batteries all pretty much work the same way. You have DC inputs where it's coming in from the DC converters and then going back out. So they all will need cabling. It may be in different spaces, but that will be something that we'd have to resolve if it was a different battery that came in. But as mentioned, the conduit runs that would go under the pad up to where the battery is. There'd be no battery there, obviously. There'd be just a pipe in the ground ready to pull wires. But the pad being constructed in accordance with the approved plans is only feasible if we, with the secondary containment, is only feasible if we do the pad. as I said, we can do half a pad, but it wouldn't have the containment around it.
Well, I would ask that the pad be cut back to what is only necessary to operate the solar and
But
extend the pad once you have a battery approved and put in all the conduits and stuff according to the battery which has been approved.
But the pad has been approved.
I don't think it was, I think
We
that-
approved the pad, but we didn't approve batteries. So this was a tricky thing that was squishy. I'm gonna, Alex, there's a lot of hands up, so I'm just gonna go, maybe we can move through this for clarification. Andre, go ahead.
Thank you. Just so that I can, just to possibly allay your fears, Alex, or your concerns about the intent of that letter. I do remember things, as Lawrence has explained, where initially they were going to put a battery in it, and then at our request, they decided to remove the batteries from consideration for the NOI. Does that make sense? In other words, I remember what Lawrence was saying is that that the batteries were taken out in order to get the approval and from us, and because they had not been, the batteries have not been approved by the fire department and needed to, and so that's it. But I don't have a problem with what I'm seeing right now.
Thanks, Andre. Bruce?
Lawrence, is it correct? I believe I just heard you say, and correct me, that the pad has a pipe leading to it through which you pull the wires when it's time to hook up batteries of any kind.
Correct.
But the only thing that's going there now is a space into which wires can go eventually.
Correct. Yeah, it's empty PVC conduit that will come out of the inverter, and we'd either, if we didn't build the pad, they would be kind of stubbed up at the edge of the pad and then extended in at the end of it. But the issue is that the secondary containment for the pad needs to go down in a single sheet, because otherwise you've got layers of failure. So the pad needs to be constructed to allow for that containment to be installed correctly without having that failure point.
So,
Alex, do you want to follow up? Go ahead.
yeah, when I've looked at pads being put in at your other projects, or one other project, I think it's in Wilbraham, there were many conduits coming up out of the pipe, out of the concrete, and they were specifically spaced and specifically arranged. There wasn't one conduit.
No, there are several conduits. Yes.
Yeah, like over a half a dozen.
Yeah, we've got a wire. There'll be a conduit that has communication wires. Then you've got positive and negative DCs coming in. You've got I think there's 4 DC converters. So you've got positives and negatives coming in, positives and negatives going out. But it is just pipe. Until the batteries are on there, there's obviously no risk or impact to the wetland resource.
So when you need a pad to put up the electronics to run the solar project and send the electricity to the grid, but when we took batteries off the table, it was in anticipation of batteries in every way. And I think the pad was mistakenly on the drawing. And so I would ask that pad be cut back. You don't need it now. There's no batteries been approved. And it seems like the camel's nose is sneaking under the tent in violation of the letter that you wrote removing batteries from the project. So I don't favor moving forward so long as you are constructing something for batteries.
Thank you, Alex. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask Alex and I guess maybe Aaron, why we are discussing these batteries and the batteries being there or not being there. What we were concerned with on that pad, I agree with what Lawrence is saying, is the secondary containment. I mean, stubbing up a bunch of conduit is a really, really common construction practice. And if they put the conduit in the wrong place, that's their problem. And so I'm not sure what the concern is. And I'm not sure if this is something that's even in our purview. We're not approving batteries. We're not a battery approval commission. We're a conservation commission, and we don't have the authority to approve batteries or disapprove of batteries. So I'm a little confused. If Lawrence is saying that the whole pad needs to go in for the secondary containment to go in, I think that's what we're concerned with, is the secondary containment being there. And I understand, without getting too deep into the details of what the pad is and what it looks like and everything, if the whole pad needs to go in for the secondary containment to go in, I don't think it's a problem. There's not a battery going in on it now. The battery needs to be approved by the fire department, as far as I understand it. We aren't approving a battery. So I'm not sure why. I'm just confused as to why this is such a topic of conversation right now.
So we initially approved the pad. Batteries weren't part of that, but ultimately batteries are going to be there. But batteries and the pad weren't really married in that first NOI. And so we're in this middle place where we have to talk about the batteries because they're happening, but we didn't necessarily approve it, but we know they're coming. So what is the best path forward in this? If we know the batteries are coming.
But what
and
does
we
it
wanna do
matter
this-
what's being built on that pad? We approved a pad that has secondary containment. And if they're going to put batteries on there or they're not putting batteries on there, what does that matter?
I think we approved an equipment pad. Erin, do you want to help us out here?
Yeah, I mean, I think I see the engineer's hand up, so I think it might be helpful to hear from him. But I guess one clarifying question I have for Lawrence, and I apologize because it's been a while since I've looked at the full plan set in detail, but I think this might help to some degree. For the secondary containment on the specs for the secondary containment, it's shown, for example, around like the transformer. And I was just curious, because of the way you're describing the pad, is it for the design, would I think what you're saying is the containment, which is essentially like a well that runs along the entire perimeter of the pad, that containment would be around the entire perimeter of the equipment pad, not just around the transformer, but around the entire perimeter of the pad itself.
That's correct.
Okay, so I think that's what Lawrence is saying. So I don't know if anyone's ever seen one of these before, but it's like, let's say you have a concrete pad and there's a grate on top of the concrete pad, and then there's a piece of equipment there. And so they create essentially like a well, which goes around whatever's being placed on the pad. So if there's a failure of any of the equipment on the pad, there's this secondary containment well that goes around the perimeter of the entire pad. And so I think what Lawrence is saying is if they shrink the pad, that it would disrupt the construction of the well, the containment well, which is installed around the entire perimeter, which would change the overall design of the pads as they were previously approved. So that's just a clarifying comment to kind of bridge the gap between what I think what Lawrence is saying and to kind of get at the root of what his concern is with eliminating the overall size of it.
Sarah and Sean, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just thought I would say, I think maybe we're kind of missing the intent of the amendment is that the plans that we produced are the stamp plans that are part of the record for this amendment only are requesting minimal grading in areas of the array. If you do look at the plans that we submitted for that, there's 4 sheets. Everything else compared to the original conform set from about a year ago from the original approval is consistent, right? So there's no other changes. It's only showing grading. So I don't, what I'm trying to get at is I think there's been no change from what we were previously approved from that aspect. The only item that we're looking to modify is the select areas of grading. So those 4 sheets that we submitted for the record are reflecting that, and we're not, there's no other changes shown on those sealed plans. So I just, hopefully that clarifies some confusion maybe on this call, that people know that's really what we're looking for as part of those modified plans for an amendment.
Thanks, Sean. Bruce?
My picture of this is that there's a pad that could hold a battery. The batteries aren't approved yet, but it could hold it. And the containment has to be continuous. And if you had only half of that and then later had to add another part, it would make the containment less than perfectly operable. Let's say that the batteries never get approved. Well, that's on the company then. They built a pad that doesn't get used or used minimally for some other mechanical things. Okay, that's their problem. And maybe we sort of are assuming the batteries will eventually appear, but maybe they won't. But it doesn't really matter as long as the containment is constructed properly.
Thanks, Bruce. Andre?
Yeah, I'm still wanting to know the answer to Jason's question, which was to Alex, who's up next. What is it that is concerning you about having a pad there that's big enough to hold a battery? And I think that's what the question was. What is it that you're so concerned about when there really wasn't much of a change?
Alex, do you want to?
Yeah, one of my
That's okay.
concerns, and always has been, is to give the fire department all of the room it needs to make its decision. And when we first eliminated the batteries, the fire department hadn't come anywhere close to making a decision. There had been fires with batteries. So there was great question about fire. And now if the conduits that go in only match up to particular batteries, and that it would be the batteries that Pure Sky has purchased or sitting in a warehouse and have not been remedied by the company that made them. The company that made them has investigated why the fires took place, and Lawrence will tell you that there are fixes which have not been put in the batteries that he owns, and his plan was to bring them on site without first getting them fixed, because he said he couldn't transport them and would fix them on site. And that didn't seem good, because the fire department would not have had approved batteries coming onto the site. So my concern with the pad is not the concrete. The concern is that if the conduits go in, it's like a puzzle. And if the conduits go in and only match up with the batteries that they have bought, it makes it difficult for the fire department. And I'm trying hard to not approve something that makes it difficult for our fire department to make the proper decision, whatever that might be. If the fire department approves the batteries that they have bought, great. If they say no, and Pure Sky has to go buy another battery, that battery may not fit the conduits that they're going to put in the concrete. If, on the other hand, the conduits that go into the concrete are universal and would fit any battery, great. I'm not bothered by that. I don't object to that. What I object to is tying the hands of our fire department.
Thanks, Alex. I understand your concern, but I do think that's just not outside of our purview, and that's the fire department's concern and the engineer's concern. So I also want to.
Excuse me, Chair, but we try to work together, And it would, I think, be good government if this commission did not do something that hinders another part of the municipal government.
It would be, but I think it's still outside of our purview. I see a lot of hands
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
I think that I want to just see a show of hands, who is ready to move with a pad as described and a grading plan as is.
Chair, while those hands are going up, do you mind if I just have a quick?
Sure, I couldn't, sorry, I didn't know if your hand was still up.
Yeah,
or
Yeah, I
not.
just before you speak, Lawrence, I just have one thing to say. Alex, I think that you're having a step or bounds.
Having a what?
Okay, hold on,
Overstepped
stop,
our
guys,
bounds.
enough. We're going to Lawrence. Lawrence, please go ahead.
Yeah, so when Alex and I had the conversation on site, it wasn't that there was no remedies that have been done. The batteries have been subject to further testing and have had a lot of the recommendations from the third-party engineer have been done in situ. What I was explaining to Alex was once they are on site, they are subject to further inspections and some further waterproofing, and just to make sure that nothing was damaged in transit. And one of the things that was that will install is a moisture sensor, which is obviously a sensitive bit of equipment, and that gets installed once it's on site because we don't want it damaged in transit or anything, or be affected by anything in transit. So it goes in once it's on site. But the batteries themselves have been subject to further testing and remediation whilst they are in the warehouse. It is not a battery that's going to be moved there and then all of the recommendations required go in. And furthermore as well, the fire department is not basing their permission on where the conduits come up, but the technology itself. So regardless of where the conduits are on the pad, it doesn't affect the fire department from approving or not the proposal that we've made.
Okay, thanks, Lawrence. I don't really want to talk about battery types anymore because I think that's outside of a conversation in this permit. Jason.
Yeah, so I was gonna say what Andre was saying. I believe that us talking about batteries is not in our purview, and I do not believe that the fire department will approve a battery or not approve a battery based on the position of conduits in a poured concrete slab. If you're concerned that they would approve batteries based on that, I'm concerned then, that the concern is that they could go back on us and say, well, we only approved it because the Conservation Commission just completely tied our hands. So that's not going to happen. And I think the batteries are completely out of our purview. And really, I think we want to try to move forward to get whatever needs to be installed, get the grading done as quick as possible, and get the site stabilized. And that, I think, has an impact on water quality that's within our control, not the batteries.
All right, Jason, do you want to make a motion then? Is there any further discussion from commissioners? Okay, if there's any public comment, please put your hand up. I'm seeing none.
I will move to close the public hearing and issue an amended order of conditions for 191 West Pomeroy Lane, DEP number 089-0728. Previously approved standard boilerplate conditions under both the Mass Wetlands Protection Act and Wetlands Protection Town of Amherst General Bylaws, Article 3.31 and regulations would still apply except where noted in the draft document with the noted additional conditions.
Second.
I have Jason on a motion, Andre on the second. Rachel, do you have discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I just had a quick procedural question. Aaron's statement of facts in our documents were really helpful and pertain to this conversation. Are these going to be part of our approvals, or is this just background for our decision?
You could make an amended motion to include them as an attachment on the conditions.
That was the intention.
I so move. I mean, the discussion about batteries and everything's in here. I feel like that protects us, so.
Okay, so we have a new motion on the floor from Rachel.
Yeah,
Or-
I'll second that.
Andre is on the second. Rachel,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Alex.
What was Rachel's motion?
So she moved, as did Jason, but to attach the statement of fact to our order of conditions and include it in the motion.
I,
Aaron, did you have a,
Yeah, so there was
comment.
one motion made by Jason, seconded by Andre, which we haven't voted on yet. And then I guess I'm confused on there was a second motion made by Rachel, seconded by Andre, where a couple votes were taken. So I just want to make sure we should finish the votes on the motion by Rachel to include the finding of fact as part of the order of conditions, which is what I understood. But
yeah,
we should go back to
Jason,
the.
can you remove your motion from the
I
floor if
will
you
rescind
so
my
choose?
motion.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Are we,
Wait, no. If he rescinds his motion approved the order of conditions, it was as it was stated. Rachel's just said to attach the finding of fact. So if he rescinds his motion, the complete motion is not still on the table.
I think
Um,
Rachel was moving on my suggestion that she attach it to the order of condition. So Rachel, there is no motion on the floor. Do you want to make a new motion with the full intent?
Or
Please.
Rachel, if you would like to rescind your motion, and I will
Yes, let's do that.
keep my motion and
Keep it clean.
and edit it to include the attachment of the finding of fact.
Very good.
All right, Jason, on that motion.
which motion?
To approve the conditions and include the findings.
Second that.
Include Erin's document that she sent to us.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so we have Jason on the motion, Andre in the second, Rachel,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Alex,
Aye.
Andre,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
and I can't vote. Okay, well, there it is. And hopefully we will not be seeing any more amendments for a long time.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Bruce.
Did you say that you cannot vote?
I missed too many meetings and I
okay.
cannot vote. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Lawrence, and anyone else who's still here.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay,
and that was all in favor except for Michelle.
Yes.
Well, we just voted on, I thought don't we have to approve? What did we just vote on?
so we voted for their amendment for the grading and the equipment pad. And we had the rounds of motion were to attach Aaron's finding of fact.
The motion, just to clarify, the motion was to issue the amended order of conditions with the original order of conditions as it was approved, but amended to include the additional finding of fact and the additional special conditions which were attached to the in the
Well,
document that I sent.
Did you not vote to your intent, Alex?
No, I didn't.
I was surprised that could turn
I-
around.
What I thought, that's why I held up her paper. Because I thought what we were doing was voting on Rachel's motion to include the finding of fact with what we were going to approve, period. And I favored that. And I was going to, based on what I said, I was going to cast a different vote on the larger issue.
Well, if you want to make a statement clarifying that for the minutes, you're welcome to do that. Bruce,
I
if you
just
want to.
did.
Okay,
did.
Bruce, you got that one?
Have it.
Thank you. Okay, speaking of minutes, shall we do some minutes? So we have a backlog from 2020 and I don't think any of us were on that one except Aaron and Dave. So my only comment on that one, Aaron, was that the author of the minutes wasn't included on any of them. And I was just curious if you knew who it was and if it could be added.
Yes, we had a temporary administrative staff person who was able to complete a couple sections, a couple outstanding sets of minutes for us. And so they assisted with completing those few sets. But yeah, I mean, if you wish to have the author's name included, we could certainly include that somewhere in a footnote, if that makes you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I think that's just some standard information that should be included in the minutes. Any questions or comments on the minutes backlog or otherwise from commissioners? And always thank you to Bruce for taking minutes. Andre?
I am not responsible for the 2021.
No, for the more recent version. Andre, go ahead.
And on that same vein, Bruce, I don't think anybody here is responsible for the 2020. I think it's 2020 is what's up, what's in for today. So what we're really approving is just the fact that it's made, not exactly the accuracy.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that we can have an official set of minutes to put up on our website that's a record of the meeting from that time.
Okay, and then we have 1/8, 11/13, and 12/18 from 2024. So I don't know if you want to make separate motions on that, but we're looking for motion to approve the minutes from said dates.
well, I don't have any problems on any one of them, so I make a motion to approve the minutes as set out to us. The first one, 1/8/25, second, 11/13/24, third, December 18th, 24, and then the backlog, September 23rd, 2020, October 14th, 2020, and October 28th, 2020. Looking for a second.
I will second that.
Andre on the motion, Jason on the second, Rachel,
Hi.
Jason,
Aye.
Alex,
I'm going to abstain. I didn't have time to read them all.
Andre,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Okay. Did we have land use permits, Erin, or are these updates on?
No, there was actually, this was a very rare instance where we have actually like no other business. Just monitoring report. There was a single public comment that came in, I want to say a day or so ago, which I included in your packets. But
Yep,
yeah,
and I saw that it came in through the new portal, which is exciting.
yes.
Okay, and I have you, Andre, you wanted a minute?
Yeah. Oh, you can hear me. Good.
Yep.
I just let's see. I've got a couple of questions about the committee, and probably best to address those to the committee chairperson, but it doesn't matter who answers it specifically. Now, you guys have presented to us what, meaning to the full commission, what you wanted us to, what you think we should know about what's going on with the committee. I'm curious, you guys invited somebody to talk about hunting from Northampton for your next meeting. Is that right?
Yeah. Or, well, it's going to be later in February. But yes, we reached out.
Mm-hmm. And why didn't you update us on that?
I mean, I'll hand that to the chair. It was not actually scheduled until like an hour ago. That's all the information I could give you, but
Yeah, but there was a discussion on this yesterday during your subcommittee meeting. Is that right?
yeah.
So Alex, would you tell us why you didn't update us on that?
We don't update the commission on what goes on in the, we don't have a place on the agenda to advise the commission on everything we do in the subcommittee. The meeting is videotaped. Anybody can watch it. We put out an agenda ahead of time, which is in our folder. Anybody can look at the agenda on what's going to be discussed. The agenda is detailed. It's not routine to inform the commission or take up its time on what goes on in the subcommittee.
Well, I would like my time to be taken up with updates that are accurate. I mean, the reason for the subcommittee is to take some work away from the general commission, right? So that we have more time. So you're acting on our behalf. On behalf of the full commission.
We
As
have
a subcommittee, you're acting as the full commission, right?
no,
So, no,
no.
you're acting on our behalf. You're putting things together because we don't have time to do it ourselves.
Well, a charter was written to set up the subcommittee to do certain things, and it's been doing it for 2 years. During that 2 years, we have never had a space on the agenda to brief the commission on its day-to-day activities until something was mature enough to come to the commission for its consideration and review. And we have brought things regularly, particularly since September, to the commission for its review and comment and vote. And I worked hard to try and get as much before the commission as possible before the end of the calendar year, so that we wouldn't have a huge backlog of things to consider. So we were diligent in bringing finished products to the commission, but we have not wasted the commission's time with the details of our work.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I'm a little bit concerned here, or quite concerned, because you're saying you bring us the finished product, and earlier during our meeting today, you said that we don't get to discuss things that are being worked on by you guys, in different words, though. Now, let me just, so this is a word of caution, or an address to those of us who are not on the subcommittee. And I am concerned because there's a lot of things being discussed during the subcommittee that should actually, that we should all be aware of. For example, this person who is going to show up at the next, who was invited to the next subcommittee meeting, is somebody who was involved in the hunting issues in Northampton. And they actually discussed this during yesterday's meeting, inviting this person, and also discussed inviting a second person that Northampton person had recommended. Now, they decided to invite this person, and the question came up. I think Michelle said it. Don't you think that we should notify the full commission?
Yeah, and I replied.
You're interrupting me. And let me find this reply, because it's pretty shocking.
I think Alex already said what he said during the meeting, which was just that.
I think you're interrupting me too.
Okay, well, I saw Bruce's hand up, and I would like to hear from other members of the subcommittee.
I'm still speaking, and I really don't want to be talked over.
Okay, Andre, go ahead.
Thank you. The response that Alex gave was, I don't feel any obligation to go out of our way to let the commission know what we're talking about. Regardless of the topic, they can read the agenda. It's public. Michelle smirks. After that, okay, we should have her. We should have her at the beginning. They decide when they're going to do that. This person, by the way, they discussed, does not want to appear before the full committee.
I mean, Andre, to clarify, the
so
person.
Why is it? So what I'm saying is, this is not in the clear. You guys are doing things saying you don't want to notify us when given the opportunity, Alex, that you don't want to notify us. What's going on here?
Andre, this is all in a public meeting, so you know about it. There
I know
was,
about it because I looked at it, looked it up, but
Yeah,
you guys
it's
are
a-
working with us.
our charge was to take this job and do it, which Alex said, we've been doing this for 2 years, and at no point was there any different expectation than the one we've been operating with. So you have a special interest in this, and now there's more attention being given to it.
Yes,
But yeah, but I mean, you could have said that about every single, the community garden, the bird banding, everything has been happening in the same realm.
yeah,
And
I
it's
would.
all public information, it's all posted, and we come to you with our final products, as Alex said. There's in terms of, I mean, you're taking some things out of context about who we're inviting and our scheduling. Like,
Well, why
so
don't you explain how I'm taking it out of context then, instead of just
you seem to
saying that I'm taking it
insinuate
out
that
of
we were
context.
trying to schedule her around the full commission. This person.
Yes, you guys said it.
Yeah, and let me explain why. Because hunting is such a hot button issue, this person did not want to talk in a full publicly attended meeting. And so I suggested the subcommittee, which is a place where we take up these kinds of subjects. And she agreed to that. And you are welcome to attend, and everybody is welcome to attend. Everybody was welcome to join the subcommittee. There's sort of secrecy around this.
Yeah,
And
yeah, but when you say something like, shouldn't we notify the full committee? And you get Alex say something, I don't feel any obligation to go out of our way to let the commission know what we're talking about. I don't find that to be in the spirit of openness.
it was probably not well stated,
It
that
was
comment.
yeah, but it was reemphasized too, reiterated.
Bruce, would you like to weigh in on this one?
Alex was ahead of me.
Alex, go ahead.
I think the commission needs to understand how much the subcommittee time it takes. It is probably 5 times more time for everybody on that subcommittee than the commission itself takes. It is a tremendous, it has eaten up a lot of time. It is a whole separate job. And to alert the commission of whatever is going on in that subcommittee would just add another layer to the job that Bruce and I and Michelle take on voluntarily. And I didn't see any need for us to have to take the responsibility to decide what issues out of all the issues we deal with should go to the full commission and say, this is what we're talking about. And Andre seems to have a personal interest here, and I don't think it's the subcommittee's responsibility to keep Andre by himself informed of what the subcommittee is doing. If we're going to inform anybody, it should be the full commission. And and that's not our charge. And it wastes the commission's time. So yes, I said I didn't see any responsibility to alert or notify the commission that a member of our subcommittee wanted to invite somebody to speak to the subcommittee, I don't even know who this person, I've never talked to the person, I don't know much about her, but a member of the subcommittee has been working on speakers for the next couple of months and happened to contact this person, and she said she didn't want to speak to the whole commission, and but she'd be willing to talk to the subcommittee. Now, should I write a memo to the entire commission about this? I don't think so.
Yes.
No, I don't think so, and I'm not going to do it.
Bruce.
So first, I'd like to ask everybody to take one step back and take a deep breath. I definitely do not, as a member of the subcommittee, I don't think that we've been trying to be secretive. My understanding of the process going forward is an educated one. we were going to try to learn. My understanding of the reason for inviting the person from Northampton was to educate the subcommittee. I certainly would have brought whatever she had to convey to the full commission as a point of education in some future, one of the discussion periods that's being organized. Since she was unwilling to do it, I felt like we could still bring the information to bear to the question. So I'd ask us to be polite to each other and recognize that the commission is in an educative mode about this topic. And let us do that educating in a variety of ways and see where we get to in a month or two.
Bruce, Andre?
Thanks, Bruce. You're right about taking a step back and relaxing, and I'll try that. I'm not talking about secrecy. I'm talking about coordination. I'm talking about working as a commission. You all know quite well that this was a topic that came up and kind of blew up a little bit. I had pushed for having somebody to come and talk to us. And now I see that they're going to be coming to talk to the full commission. And we had a pretty healthy discussion on this, I believe back in November, where we agreed to have folks here for 3 different visits, 3 different opinions, if possible, for the full commission. So when I reviewed the subcommittee's meetings this morning, or this afternoon, I've been doing it all day, I was really surprised to find that, and in fact, somewhat insulted by the attitude. I mean, Rachel and Jason, you guys should watch these subcommittee meetings, and I'll send you specifically the times when this conversation occurred. We got to work as a team. We can't say, you know what, screw them. If they don't read the agenda, they don't get to hear about it. And if it's something that you know, you guys are all calling attention to how much of an interest I had in this. There are others who are on the committee who are also interested. Why wouldn't you guys share that? We started this conversation in the full committee, and to have we started the conversation to invite people to talk about different aspects of it. Yet suddenly, and I won't say that you're doing it to hide, but the subcommittee has invited somebody completely relevant to this issue and opted not to notify us directly when you guys have you've taken probably 15 minutes today to talk to us about your business. Why did that get left out? We have to work as a team. You can't do that. That attitude it feels wrong. And you can try to justify it as much as you want, but it feels that way. And I do appreciate all the work that you guys have done. I see you've done a whole lot of work. And my bad for not having tried to join it before, because I've dealt with laws my entire career, writing laws and all that. So anyway, several points here, but my main point is that we gotta work together. We are, the full commission approved the extension for time for you guys because you really needed it. And you didn't need 2 months, you needed a full 3 months. But now you're discussing things that I was told were dead and not communicating with us on it. So several things there that I think we need to be thinking about.
Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, I would ask Andre to be very careful about putting words in other people's mouths that they didn't speak. So some of the spin that you have provided is a little off. And there has been a lot of cooperation on the subcommittee. We meet with Dave and Aaron and Bruce and myself, and we have covered all of the topics that are in the policy, rules, and regulations handbook. We're nearly to the end. And frankly, I'll be glad if we can get it done in 3 months. It has regularly, we don't get to the end of the agenda. I'm very bad at judging how long a discussion is going to take place. And to burden the commission with the minutia of what goes on there, I don't think the commission, I don't want to have to take that time. It just adds to the job. I don't think it benefits anybody personally, and I'm just talking generically. And I do think that you are generating mistrust that is misplaced. As the video is available, I give Aaron the agenda on time, it gets published. I put in more details than most people would in an agenda. And you have attended that meeting once. You're more than welcome to attend at any time. Anybody is. But I also have to ask Aaron, when we have non-members of the committee meeting, they're not allowed to vote, and they can offer comments, but then we get into a quorum problem. So there are rules that govern the way the committee has to operate. And I think I don't want to carry on a conversation that denigrates the work of that subcommittee, because they have done a tremendous amount of work and delved into things a great deal. And I don't appreciate singling out a particular issue and spreading a bad light on our work.
Rachel.
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe offer up an idea. I'm looking at the agenda for yesterday. I was unable to attend. I had another meeting at the time. And I see topics, and I've attended some of the meetings before. And I don't see hunting
It's not there.
agenda. And I'd like to say, I understand, I support more education, I support more conversation on the topic. And I wonder if it's as simple as, in this type of situation, there was a discussion that happened in the subcommittee. We don't have notes for the subcommittee. We don't want to, I'm assuming we're not overburdening the subcommittee with more work, but there needs to be some reporting. There could be some reporting back, because the only information that the commissions who weren't at that meeting and who didn't have time to watch that would assume, looking at the agenda, that that topic wasn't covered or discussed. So it could be as simple as, we had our meeting, we covered agenda items 1 through 8, and we also talked about X and this person's coming. Simple. And then if a commissioner wants to see more about that, they can look at the video or they can ask questions. That's just an idea.
Thanks, Rachel. If we do that, I would like to keep it to 1 minute max, because it's already taking a lot of time up on our agendas, which is going to fill up. And I just want to clarify that hunting was not on the agenda. This was a topic not reasonably anticipated. And the reason that it came up is because, and I want to talk about this, is that I feel like I am responsible for fulfilling this 3-part session, which you guys voted on, and finding speakers for it. I do not want to do that. So if this is a charge of the subcommittee, then maybe Alex could do it, or Andre, maybe you know people, but I wasn't even at this meeting, and I feel that it's being put on me as chair to somehow fulfill that agenda, and I have no guidance for that. So if you have people that you want me to contact, please tell me, but right now this is on my to-do list without any kind of anything. You just put it on the agenda. So what I did was, people have mentioned Northampton and their hunting policies. I called the planner at Northampton. Northampton has never allowed hunting. It was not exactly relevant. They did not want to come to a full meeting. And I had that conversation in an afternoon and I reported it to the subcommittee. It is a subcommittee topic at the end of our meeting, and that is where it came from. So this was all to address the meeting that you guys had where you tried to fill out a 3-part speaker series. Please tell me how you want to address that. We have one person coming up, which I put on the agenda for next time. What do you want to do for the next 2 times? Because all of this is doing is creating this problem, and I just kind of regret contacting that person in Northampton and bringing this up in the first place. And obviously I'm pretty frustrated by this. So if anybody here has guidance for who you want to be a topic or a speaker, please tell me, because it is very nebulous right now. I see Andre and Alex up. Andre, would you like to address that? And
Yeah, I'll
comment
address
on
what you were
something else?
asking. Yeah. So I'm sorry that you're frustrated. This process is getting a little frustrating for most of us. The original thing I wanted to do, as far as speakers, since we're going back to that meeting when you weren't there, is to have somebody who's an expert in the matter, who has data to use that we can understand. So I proposed inviting this person, and I didn't know how long we needed, so I proposed a couple of hours, I think it was, and then it went to no, we're gonna do let's do 3 days with 1 hour each, and then we'll do 3 days with a half hour each. The only reasoning behind having more than one speaker was to give more than one point of view. I found it important to have the data provided first, and then folks, other speakers to state whatever. So I don't think we need to fill 3 hours or 3 half hours or whatever. But that was all in the interest of fairness, as we discussed that day. If you would like me to find other people to speak, I would be happy to do that, Michelle. Get that off your plate.
I would appreciate that.
But the idea was to have it in the full session, so that we could all hear it and understand it. This point, it doesn't matter, but I think it's important enough that it grabbed all our ears during the original discussions. So I think we all have some interest in knowing what's going on. That's my reasoning for bringing that up earlier.
Okay, well, I will leave it to you and other interested parties in filling out the speaker series, because frankly, I don't have the time to do the research for people with data to fill out some kind of well-rounded session. Dave, I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, thanks. Somehow, sorry, I'm getting a notification here. I'm just trying to get rid of it. Yeah, so in the interest of kind of different perspectives, and I said this in the subcommittee, and I'll say it again, and I'm happy to roll up my sleeves and perhaps work with Aaron on this, but I think one of the perspectives, and I appreciate getting a biologist to start off this conversation. I think that's where Andre is going, and our speaker in 2 weeks is going to represent, certain data points. But I think it's important also to hear perhaps from other municipalities who have grappled with this issue, because that's really who we are. That's who you are. You represent the whole town. You represent the interests of residents of Amherst regarding over 2,000 acres of conservation land and 140 miles of trails. Yes, there's a biological piece related to hunting, but there's also a broader municipal safety, trail safety, all of that. So I think one of those sessions, if we're successful, and I know that's what Michelle was, her intent was to reach out to Northampton. And I understand we may not be able to get anybody to come talk because it is such a hot topic, but if the commission would be willing, I would be interested in reaching out to some of my colleagues to see if there's some other municipal towns, cities and towns east of here or in the valley that have grappled with this. They may have ended up with no hunting, or they may have considered it and changed their mind. I don't know. I need to make some calls and just ask around. Because they may have done surveys, they may have done safety studies, who knows? But I think that should be one of the points of interest for you all, because you represent the residents of Amherst in this matter. So if you're interested, I'm happy to make a few calls.
Thanks, Dave. I think that would be very
Yeah.
useful. Alex, go ahead.
I got some suggestions for you, Dave.
Sure, and I make no promises. We may not be able to get anybody because it is kind of a third rail hot topic, but I will try.
Let me just address, if that's okay.
Well, I want to be
A
done
sec-
by,
It's gonna be 30 seconds.
I've had my hand up for a
Alright.
long time.
okay, just let him go, Alex, please.
Yeah, Dave, there's a town that has recently prohibited hunting, and there was another town that recently had some issues after having prohibited hunting. I'll give you those names and so on, and you can go from there. Sorry about that, Alex.
Go ahead, Alex.
I want to get back to and reiterate, am I on speaker?
Yeah, we hear you.
Rachel said she didn't see hunting on the agenda. There wasn't any hunting on the agenda. Hunting wasn't anticipated when I wrote the agenda. And I wrote the agenda last week. I thought I had sent it to Erin on Wednesday. Turns out I dreamt that. I sent it to her on Thursday just in time to get it published. There was no anticipation of talking to hunting when I wrote the agenda. And I just want to reiterate that there's nothing hidden on the agenda. And I'll reiterate again that I write more detail in there than most people would. And we don't keep minutes, and we had a discussion about minutes, and we're not a decision-making body. We're not a quorum of the commission. And so we don't keep minutes, but there is a tape recording that anybody can watch. And I invite anybody to attend that wants to. And I don't even recall, this call to Northampton was not part of that. And I had oral surgery about midday, and I slept most of the afternoon. So I'm not up to speed on the minutes that came forward that we had to vote on, and I feel kind of lousy. So I'm not up to speed on whether or not, at least I don't think I'm up to speed on whether or not this person has even been scheduled. I think perhaps she has been for February 18, but I have to go back and check. Anyways, there's no secrecy, but I do not want to burden the commission with the minutia of what we deal with. I think it would put you to sleep. And our discussions are painfully long. So that's I just want to clear up on agendas. I try hard to put down what we're going to talk about. They're always longer than we can get through, and things get carried over. So the intent, aside from hunting, the intent is to get done with every single policy matter within the time allowed, and I think we're making good progress. So please do take a look at the appendix that we're going to provide to you. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. I may, if this goes on, I'm going to cut out. I'm just not feeling very well.
I think we have one last something from Rachel. Go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, Alex, I hope you feel better. There was a public comment that came in and it was interesting. It said that the town had made promises about the land and it made me think, just in general, if there are, is there any, this is all gonna go to our legal review, right? And so they'll look at the land and any sort of restrictions or, the opposite of restrictions, things that are tied to the land, activities that are tied to the land that are permitted versus restricted. So that if it's in conflict with that, we
I
would,
can address that.
Hold on. I did follow up with Aaron and Dave. I don't think I heard anything back about whether there was a permitted use on the deed. There wasn't any reference specifically in that comment, but it would be obviously important to know and then outside of our hands. Dave, did you have any
I
insight
had
on
my
that?
hand up.
We can look at that as staff. I mean, we have dozens and dozens of
Yeah,
parcels, so let us look at that. It's not as easy as saying, hey,
yeah.
what happened in 1982? You know, so let us look at that and I think there's fewer of those than people might think.
Go ahead, Alex.
I saw that comment come in and I contacted Peter Westover, who was active before Dave and put together a lot of the parcels. We know them as Lawrence Swamp or, sorry, by Atkins Flats. But within any one of those, there are many, many parcels that were put together. Lawrence Swamp has a whole list of parcels that were put together over a span of time. Peter did not recall any binding agreement about hunting on any piece of land and did not recall, and with some assurance said that there's nothing on the deeds that calls for that. So I don't know where that person got that information from, but I did try at least I did try and get clarification on whether or not there was truth to what he was saying. And it's just an example of where the subcommittee takes your time. There's lots of rabbit holes to go down. So I've heard that before, that land was granted with a requirement of hunting, and that has not been recorded as part of the property to the best of my knowledge.
Alex. So it's 9:04, so I'd like to adjourn soon, but if anybody wants to go down that rabbit hole, you can look at the original deeds and all the deeds on the record of deeds if you can get the parcel numbers. So that's all
Be a
publicly
huge
available.
job.
Yeah, I mean, you could, if you had some, well, it's available, it's publicly available, so I'm not volunteering, but if anybody wants to do that, it's there. Okay. So good discussion. I think if we are gonna vary from our agenda, which we rarely do, then we'll just make a very quick note of that, per Rachel's suggestion. Otherwise, yeah, feel free to attend our lunchtime sessions.
And move that we adjourn.
Second.
Bruce on the motion, Jason on the second, Rachel,
I,
Jason,
Aye.
Alex,
Aye.
Bruce,
Bye.
Andre,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. All right, good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Night.